Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, double honors to the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone, and Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, Brakatham, to the 144,000 servants as well as the remaining elect of Israel. So this is a video here that I've got pulled up on YouTube from Redacted, and it's in regards to the microchip implant, which I say at Great Millstone, beginning with the apostles on down, this is the main prophecy that we're warning our people about. Our people being the Israelites being you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially, our people that live out here in America. Reason being is that America is going to be destroyed when World War III heats up to a nuclear level, a nuclear war between the United States and their enemies, such as Russia, China, North Korea, and even some of their own allies, okay, pursuant to Revelation 17, verse 16. Now, what's going to happen is that any of you Israelites that go ahead and get down with Esau's beast system, this New World Order that they're branding as the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is pretty much the merging of man and technology coming through or by way of the implantable microchip. What's going to happen is that you're going to suffer the fate, or I should say the judgment written in Revelation 14 verses 9 to 10. Okay, and that judgment is going to come in the form of fire, thermonuclear fire, again when World War III heats up to a nuclear war. And that's going to happen in the presence of our Lord Yahweh Shai upon his return, okay, with the holy angels, as is written. Because when Yahweh Shai comes back, he's coming back in what people out there call UFOs, the chariots of Israel, and they're going to come with their own brand and form of fire in the form of laser beams, okay, which is going to add on to the fire that's going to be coming by way of those ICBMs. So again, this is what we're warning our people about. Revelation 13 verses 16 to 18 concerning the mark of the beast. All right, you already know how it goes. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, the mark being the implantable microchip, in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay, and that's pretty much what our forefather, the Apostle John, saw in his vision 2,000 years ago, approximately around 96 AD, concerning the time that we're living in right now. Okay, and right now, if you don't know by now, we're living at the end of the world, okay, in the sense of the Greek word eon or ion, aeon, pursuant to Matthew 24, verse 3, which that word world, again, it goes back to the Greek word eon, which means an age or a time period, right? And when you go to 2 Ezra 6, verse 9, it tells us that Esau being the so-called white man, is the end of the world, right? Meaning the end of this current wicked age, this current wicked society, rulership, and kingdom. Okay, so we're living in some very prophetic times, crucial times, and it's crucial for you to understand these prophecies, all right? These last major prophecies that's going to take place, again, such as the mark of the beast, Revelation 13 and 16, which needs to be fulfilled on a global level. And that prophecy, is pretty much knocking at the door. And this is why us here at Great Millstone are giving you warning, okay? As it's written, Ezekiel 3 verse 17, Isaiah 62 verse 6. The Lord has set up watchmen, to give you warning of these things, man. And we are those watchmen, like I said, beginning with the apostles of Great Millstone on down. because we're the main Israelite group, pretty much the only Israelite group that's giving you warning of this prophecy, which is a major prophecy that's about to take place here on the earth. Okay. So anyway, with all that being said, you know, what they're doing here in this video, which I haven't seen, so we're going to watch it together, but I'm guessing this is like some kind of update to what's been going on out there in Sweden. Okay. So as you see in the title, it says a microchip in your hand. Sweden's digital ID microchip experiment 10 years later. And again, you know, let the record reflect that us here at Great Millstone have been warning you about this for the longest. You know, we've been giving you the 411 on, you know, the whole digital identity or digital ID, because pretty much, you know, the digital ID ultimately is going to come in the form of the microchip. Okay, the microchip is going to be able to contain not only your digital money, but it can contain, you know, your digital records, your digital identification, such as your driver's license, you know, your medical records, your passport, so on and so forth. Okay, and again, this is what we've been trying to warn you about. And, you know, very shortly, this temptation of not taking the chip is going to be upon us. Revelation 3 verse 10, as is written, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell on the earth. Okay, and that's what our Lord Yahushua pretty much told us when you go to that scripture. And that's really a promise unto the elect of Israel, those of us that call ourselves the hopeful elect of Israel, you know, because we're hoping to be delivered upon Yahushua's return. You know, what he was saying there is that those of us that, you know, do his will and that endure ultimately, you know, then he's going to protect us when we're presented with this dilemma, you know, of, you know, taking a chip in order to survive in this society or being left off the grid, so to speak. All right. So anyway, let me just play this video and let's just get this update on what they're saying.
Redacted, we covered Sweden's bizarre microchip implanting story and their plan, which would have everyday citizens opting to have microchips implanted right into their bodies, right into their hands, the RFID or near field communications chips, or NFC, basically the size of a grain of rice. And thousands of Swedes took the plunge. And many, since the story first published, many more thousands have taken the plunge. The idea is that the chips would speed up your user's daily life, make their lives more convenient, access their homes, office, gyms, just swipe it right on your door or keypad and you're right in there. Here is one of the individuals lining up to get one of the chip implants and just being able to get it poked right in the hands. Now, when the program started, the demand was off the charts. There were waiting lists. Companies could insert these things. They couldn't insert these things fast enough. And then shortly after it won high praise from the World Economic Forum.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to track people and they let you.
Let me just pause it real quick. What you're looking at there, this sharp instrument, this ties in with the Greek word karux, okay? Again, when you go to Revelation 13, verse 16, and you read about the mark, when you go into the actual word mark in the Greek, you're going to find the Greek word karagma, which is pretty much defined as an incision, okay? And the incision is going to come from the root of that word, which goes to corrux, okay, which corrux is defined as a palisade or a stake, and a palisade, a stake, that's a sharp instrument of sort. That's something that you would stick into the ground. And so obviously that's gonna come in the form of this needle that you're looking at here. Okay, it's gonna come in the form of the actual 12 gauge needle that they're gonna use to actually insert the microchip underneath the skin. And then when you go further into those words, charagma and corrux, you'll find the Greek word grapho, okay, which grapho for the most part is defined as records, okay. So the record or the records is going into the data or the information that's actually going to be stored on the microchip. Okay, like I said, what's going to be stored in your microchip is not only your digital money, okay, your central bank digital currency, but also your digital identification. Again, whether that be your driver's license, your state ID, or if you're out there in the UK, you would have your national insurance number. That will be in digital form. Okay, your medical records, your passport, so on and so forth. So this is pretty much what the Apostle John saw in his vision. Okay, he saw the microchip being inserted underneath the skin by way of this sharp instrument. The sharp instrument being the corrux. All right, and what was actually on the microchip? Data, information, which is where you get the Greek word grapho. Okay, so let's continue.
Exactly.
That's on them.
So World Economic Forum is like, hey, this is great. And if you read the article, the World Economic Forum piece on this, they even point out, it's no big deal. It's just like a simple, like a slight sting in when you get it. No big deal.
Imagine telling our youngest, who hates shots,
yeah,
you're just going to get this chip forever. It's only going to hurt for a little bit.
And we'll be able to track everything that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flash forward to 2026, and now these and where are things at with this program? We wanted to check in on this program, see how it's being floated for digital IDs, digital currency, how it's competing with the incredibly popular bank ID system in Sweden. It's very, very popular. It's almost at 100% usage, the bank ID system in Sweden, 100%, up to 8.7 million users now across the country. It's basically their dominant digital ID system. So is there a marriage between like implanting yourself with these chips and using the country's digital ID system? Forget cash, forget everything. It's all digital now, and all they want to do is track you. Well, today we're thrilled to have Maria Z joining us today to talk all about this from Z Media, and who's been watching, of course. She has very keen insights into watching how all of this tracking across these countries around Europe, through Australia, the United States, are unfolding, and watching this legislation that's been moving. Great to see you, Maria. Welcome back to the show.
Great. You both again. Thank you so much for inviting me. These particular chips, I will say from the outset, I'm not that worried about the microchips, and I'll explain why. The uptake, yes, there were a few thousand people that rushed to do it in the beginning, but I think that pretty much after 2018, that slowed down a lot. There was the initial rush of, a few thousand that said, yeah, this is great, and we're probably paid to do it. But it's not something that's widely popular at this stage. What I'm more concerned about, truthfully, is an admission from MIT that happened in November of 2025. So a publication from MIT News actually reads, quote, "New therapeutic brain implants could defy the need for surgery." Now, I'll read you a couple of quotes from this article. It is extremely alarming. MIT researchers developed microscopic wireless bioelectronics that could travel through the body's circulatory system and autonomously self-implant in a target region of the brain where they could provide quote-unquote focused treatment, because it's about treating Alzheimer's and things of this nature, right? Not covert operations, everyone. In a study on mice, the researchers show that after injection, these minuscule implants can identify and travel to a specific brain region without the need for human guidance. Once there, they can be wirelessly powered to provide electrical stimulation to the precise area. So a couple of things here. We're talking about self-assembling nanotechnology that can form brain implants that is, one, done through injection, so vaccines, and two, does not need any human intervention once it's been administered through the quote-unquote vaccine. Now, we know, Clayton, that this is happening through geoengineering. Smart dust has been happening for a very, very long time. And we know that they can administer various types of nanotechnology that can be self-replicating, self-programming through vaccines and other medicines, and also potentially through our food. I'm actually far more concerned about the covert applications of this type of technology than I am about people going and implanting themselves. I dare say there could be quite a few people walking around with chips already inside of them without knowing it's actually there.
Wait, what is smart?
See, that's where we have to pause, because the fulfillment of Revelation 13 and verse 16, that's going to come through making a conscious decision. Okay, she's talking about, people being implanted with chips in a covert manner, like in a secretive way, so to speak. But no, like the fulfillment of Revelation 13 and 16, as it pertains to the microchip implant being the mark of the beast, you're going to have to actually make a conscious decision, all right, as to taking that thing, in order to continue on in this society. So don't get caught up with what she's saying here. It's going to be a thing where you're going to have to make a decision, all right? So let's just continue.
Smart dust that you mentioned?
Smart dust, they've been geoengineering for a very, very long time, as you both know. Smart dust is essentially programmable dust. This is something that is not detected through the human eye. People talk about how it forms structures even on their walls. I mean, there's a lot of anecdotal information about what smart dust has achieved, but basically when you're talking about the various chemicals that they're spraying, and that also, by the way, includes graphene, Dane Wigington has done independent testing of soil and air and things of this nature and found graphene immediately present after geoengineering has occurred. When you look at what they refer to when it comes to graphene, they say that it's essentially a miracle component that they have started using in medicine. And you'd recall Albert Bourla talking about how, in the future we're going to have these pills that people can take and they'll tell us whether the person's taken it, what it's doing inside of their bodies. That of course is achieved through graphene because it is highly conductive. It is able to send a message back to them, and it's no secret, this isn't a conspiracy theory. Albert Bourla himself has spoken about their ability to do this. There's been a lot of talk back and forward as to whether they can achieve this through geoengineering or vaccines or things of this nature. Their literature absolutely says that it can, and these studies go back decades.
Yeah, here's just an example of some of the graphene oxide being manipulated using different frequencies. So this is exactly what, individuals like Dane Wigington have been talking about, David Icke, the manipulation of graphene oxide that's in our bodies, these nanoparticles that can be manipulated and moved. So I think you're right. I think you're hitting on something, because when you look at just the thousands of people that have willingly put these microchips in their hands, that's a small percentage. But so many people have this in their bodies because of, geoengineering, because of what they're spraying in our skies, and because of these COVID jabs.
From the city to the suburbs to the sand, with the nation's highest cardiac
Yes, let me give you some really shocking information. You may know about this. A lot of people don't, actually. So I spoke to Nick Holscher a little while ago, prominent epidemiologist, after I learned about what MIT had admitted here, and asked him whether it was possible that they already covertly did this through the COVID injections. He said, definitely possible. There is some evidence to suggest that they did. But there is another very, very important puzzle piece here, and it comes to us from Bar Ilan University, that's Barilan University in Israel. And their chief scientist, Ido Bachelet, was actually presenting a TED Talk all the way back in 2013. And he basically said at that time, we can implant he said that we can implant hundreds of billions, or 1,000 billion, I think he said, nanorobots into a vaccine. He proudly held up a vaccine during that TED Talk. I've done a whole expose on this. He then said in his presentation that people can, they can ensure that they don't, quote unquote, lose control of the nanorobots after they've been injected into people. He stated that the controller is connected to the internet, and I quote, like an Xbox. He then said that the controller actually links these nanobots to the network, that they have an IP address, and that they can be accessed remotely. He bragged about how they can control these nanobots, like with a joystick, to release payloads into humans. This TED Talk happened in 2013. Now, here's the kicker. In 2015, Pfizer announced their partnership with Ido Bachelet of Bar-Ilan University, who already had this tech. So my point is that while I, of course, am concerned about people willingly implanting themselves, and I do believe free will plays a part in the control of the technocrats, I am very concerned about what covert operations and covert applications have on, I'm concerned about those impacts on the population. And you only need to look at something like Bill Gates' patent 060606. Yes, that's real. Everyone, please go and look up patent 060606, and you will see that the plan is to actually be able to mine cryptocurrency with your body's data. Well, how would they do that? They need some sort of sensors, conductors inside of us, feeding information back to the data centers through quantum technology. And by the way, Bill Gates is also developing the quantum dot microneedle patch. We can talk about that. Which is real-time data being sent to the powers that be of everything that's going on inside of your body at any given time. And also, of course, your ability to bank, aka mine cryptocurrency, with your body's data, which will tell the powers that be if you are being compliant or not.
I mean, this is a transhumanist agenda. How far do you think that they will take it? I mean, we see evidence of this every single day, of the desire to continuously break down the human elements of our lived experience, but only for us, not for the elites. And, you know, can you play out how far they want to take it?
Yeah, it's always for safety.
Yes, you only need to look to the government of Canada to see how far they want to take it. They published something,
Killing
Policy
you.
Horizons. Well,
Yeah.
right, no, but they actually published something, Policy Horizons, published something called Biodigital Convergence. It's an official publication from the government of Canada, and they give you some fictional scenarios in there, but it's absolutely where they want to take it. And they say that we're going to live in a future where you wake up in the morning and the AI that is connected to you through sensors inside your body, which of course are enabled through self-assembling nanotechnology, which can happen covertly. That AI, you wake up, the AI will say, okay, you're missing this vitamin or this nutrient, and then it's going to 3D print it from your counter and give you what you need based on what the AI has assessed that you need. They say that the UN, actually, their publication, Remaking the World Towards an Age of Global Enlightenment, it's the Boston Global Forum that's published it, but they're part of the UN. They say that although we're not going to have a social credit system in like China, but you will only be rewarded with cryptocurrency if you do things that are, you know, acceptable inside the AI world society. So in other words, if you don't live the way we want you to, you will not have access to any currency, and your own body will betray you by the use of patent 0606, of course.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you so much, Marie. We really appreciate it. And I'm I guess I'm heartened in one way. It's the government is not forcing people to get these implants, but they're doing it in far more nefarious ways, which is spraying our skies with it so that they're.
See, and what we're saying is that there's going to come a time when the government is going to make it mandatory to, take that chip in order to participate in their New World Order, in their Great Reset, in their fourth industrial revolution. And if you don't, then you're going to be left off of the grid. Okay. And again, that's going to come through a conscious decision that you're going to have to make. All right. It's going to come through a conscious decision that you're going to have to make. This is why the time that we're coming into, Yahweh Shai referred to it as being the hour of temptation. All right. An hour or a season of testing, because our faith is going to be tested, because not having that chip is going to, it's going to impact your whole life. All right. It's going to impact your so-called career, your job, your living situation, your situation with your family, everything. All right. Your medical situation, your traveling situation. Not having that chip is going to impact all of that. Okay. And this is why, we're going to have to rely upon Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai in that day, as is written when you go to Isaiah 10 and verse 20. What does it say? It speaks about how, and it shall come to pass in that day that they shall no more stay upon him that smote them, but they shall stay upon the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. All right. So that's talking about the elect of Israel, relying upon the power and the majesty of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, to get them through that trial, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Lord willing, we're of the elect, so that's pretty much, I guess, the update. I guess you can watch the rest of this interview. I guess there's only like a minute left. Maybe I'll play the rest. But that's pretty much what they're saying, And pretty much all we're waiting for is a Black Swan event to take place for them to really establish and make mandatory the chip. However they do that, it's still somewhat of a mystery, but they will do it. And that's how the wicked elite of Esau, Edom, which are these central banking families out there in Europe, such as the Rothschild family, who's pretty much running the show behind the scenes. They're working as a shadow government, and, they're telling their puppet leaders what to do, whether it be a Donald Trump, or if you're out there in the UK, Keir Starmer, and the list goes on. They're pretty much, pulling the strings behind the scenes. As it's written, Job 9 verse 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The wicked, of course, we know is Esau, Edom, but it starts with their elite families. Okay. So, we're going to, keep our eye on this prophecy, because like I said, it's a major prophecy. And, we all need to prepare our minds for it. Okay. So anyway, I pray and hope you're edified. And until next time, I'll say Shalom.